Every woman you've ever been with has compared you to another man. Not consciously, not deliberately, but somewhere in the back of her mind, there's a template, a standard, a ghost of a man she measures you against. And you're losing. You don't even know you're in a competition, but you're losing to someone who might not even be in her life anymore. Someone she might have only known for months, maybe years ago, but who left such an imprint on her psyche that every man after him is just a pale shadow, a disappointing echo of what she once experienced. You want to know what makes a man unforgettable? What makes him the standard against which all others fail? What creates that deep psychological imprint that no amount of time, distance, or new relationships can erase? I'm going to tell you, and it's not what you think. It's not money. It's not looks. It's not even how good he was in bed. It's something much deeper, much more primal, something that speaks directly to the female subconscious in a language older than words. The first and most powerful quality, obsession, but not obsession with her. That's where every man gets it wrong. You think showing her she's your everything will make you irreplaceable. Wrong. Dead wrong. The man she never forgets is obsessed with something else entirely. His purpose, his mission, his goal, his passion, something that has nothing to do with her. Listen to me carefully, because this is counterintuitive to everything you've been taught. Women don't want to be your obsession. They want to become your obsession. They want to earn that spot. Fight for it. Compete for it. When you're already obsessed with them from day one, there's no challenge, no conquest, no achievement. You've handed them the prize before the race even started. But when you're obsessed with building your business, mastering your craft, pursuing your mission, something fascinating happens in her psychology. Her brain goes into competition mode. He's capable of this level of focus, this intensity, this single-minded pursuit, but it's not directed at me. I need to capture that. I need to become the object of that obsession. And she'll spend her entire relationship with you trying to redirect that obsession toward herself. This is the hook that never leaves. Years later, decades later, she'll remember the man who was so driven, so focused, so obsessed with his purpose that she could never quite capture all of him. She got pieces, moments, but never the whole thing, and that incomplete conquest haunts her forever. Every man after you who makes her is everything, who drops his dreams for her, who abandons his obsession to obsess over her, they all pale in comparison to the man she could never fully have. I see this with women I work with constantly. They'll talk about some man from their past, eyes getting that distant look, voice-changing tone. He was so passionate about his work, they'll say. He'd forget to eat when he was deep in a project. He'd lose track of time completely. And when he looked at me after coming out of that focus, it was like I was the reward for his intensity, not the source of it. These women, some married for 20 years, successful, seemingly satisfied, still carry this man in their psychological framework. He's the one they dream about, the one they look up on social media at 2 a.m., the one whose name they type into search bars, then delete before hitting enter. Not because they want him back, but because he represents something they've never found again, a man whose world didn't revolve around them. A woman's brain is wired to want to be first in a man's priorities. She subconsciously needs to occupy that primary position. But here's the paradox. If she starts there, if you hand her that position without her earning it, it has no value. It's like being given a trophy without running the race. The victory is hollow, meaningless. But when she has to compete with your obsession, when she has to work to redirect your focus from your mission to her, even partially, that's when she values the position. The second quality that makes a man unforgettable. He has an actual goal and pursues it relentlessly. Not a vague wish, not a maybe someday dream, but a concrete goal that drives his daily actions. Women are surrounded by men who drift through life, who work jobs instead of building careers, who exist instead of achieve. When she meets a man with genuine purpose, with a destination he's driving toward, something primitive in her recognizes this as strength. Think about it from evolutionary psychology. For thousands of years, women's survival depended on attaching themselves to men who could achieve, who could build, who could create security through purposeful action. This isn't social conditioning. This is biological programming. A man with a goal represents potential resources, future security, the possibility of growth. A man without goals represents stagnation, decline, eventual obsolescence. When women tell me about their past relationships, you know what they never say? They never say, I really miss how he had no ambitions. They never say, I loved how he was content with mediocrity. They never say it was so attractive how he drifted through life without direction. No, they remember the man who was building something, even if he never finished building it. The attempt, the drive, the purposeful action, that's what burns into their memory. I worked with a woman whose ex-husband became a multi-millionaire. She left him when he was broke, working 18-hour days on his startup. Now she's married to a stable, comfortable accountant who adores her. But you know who she thinks about? The ex-husband. Not because of his current success, but because she remembers the fire in his eyes when he talked about his vision. The way he'd skip meals because he was so absorbed in his work. The absolute certainty he had that he was building something important. Her current husband has no fire, no vision, no consuming goal. He's nice, reliable, loving, and completely forgettable. And here's what men don't understand. Even if that goal is achieved at the expense of the relationship, even if it requires sacrifices from her, even if it means less time together, less attention, less of everything she consciously says she wants. Subconsciously, that goal-oriented drive is infinitely more attractive than a man who makes her his only goal. The man with his own goal has something she can never fully possess. And that impossibility of complete possession drives female psychology wild. The third quality, he values his time and won't waste it. This is massive, and almost no men understand its power. When a man treats his time as precious, when he won't wait around, won't put his life on pause, won't sacrifice his hours for anyone's convenience, including hers, he becomes valuable by demonstration, not declaration. You're probably thinking, but I should make time for her, show her she's important. Yes, but not at the expense of your own time's value. When your time has no value, when you'll drop everything at her text, when you'll wait for hours for her to get ready, when you'll sacrifice your schedule for her whims, what are you communicating? That your time is worthless. And if your time is worthless, you are worthless. The man she never forgets didn't wait. If she was late, he left. If she canceled, he made other plans immediately. If she wanted to waste time with drama, he had better things to do. His time was precious because he was building something, pursuing something, becoming something. And paradoxically, this made her value the time he did give her infinitely more than all the time the next guy gives her freely. Time is the only truly non-renewable resource. Money can be earned again. Health can often be restored, but time, once it's gone forever. When a man demonstrates through actions that he understands this, that he won't squander his hours, something deep in a woman's psyche recognizes this as supreme value. She adapts to his schedule, not the other way around. She becomes efficient with his time because she knows it's limited. And years later, she remembers the man whose time she had to earn, not the one who gave it away like it meant nothing. I know a woman who dated a surgeon for 6 months. His time was so limited, so valuable that she had to schedule dates weeks in advance. If she was more than 15 minutes late, he'd already be gone, having returned to the hospital or moved on to his next commitment. She hated it at the time, complained constantly about his inflexibility. Now, 10 years later, married to a man who waits for her endlessly, who has nothing but time, she realizes what she lost. He made me feel like every moment mattered, she told me. Now, I'm drowning in endless, meaningless time with someone who acts like we have forever to waste. The fourth quality, he actually enjoys being alone, not tolerates it, not endures it, but genuinely enjoys it. This is so powerful because it's so rare. Most men are terrified of being alone. They jump from relationship to relationship like someone jumping between boats in a stormy sea, terrified of falling into the water of solitude. But the man who enjoys his own company, who can say honestly, I'm great alone, I'm better with you, but I'm great alone, becomes irreplaceable in a woman's memory. Why? Because he chose her from a position of abundance, not need. His presence in her life was a gift, not a desperate grab for validation. When a man can't be alone, when he fears solitude like death, he becomes clingy, needy, suffocating. Every woman has experienced this. The man who texts constantly, who needs reassurance, who falls apart when she needs space. These men are forgotten the moment they're gone because they were never really individuals. They were just parasites looking for a host. But the man who loves solitude, who has rich internal life, who can spend days alone and emerge refreshed rather than desperate, he's choosing to share his completeness, not seeking someone to complete him. This choice, this selection from a position of wholeness rather than neediness, creates a completely different dynamic. She knows he doesn't need her, which paradoxically makes her need him more. When a man broadcasts that he's fine alone, when there's no problem whether she's there or not, it maintains that crucial balance of importance. The moment a man becomes unable to be alone, the balance tips entirely in her favor and the relationship dynamic is destroyed. She becomes too important, he becomes disposable, and the attraction dies. The fifth quality, and this one is absolutely crucial: complete absence of fear of loss. Women can smell fear of loss like sharks smell blood in the water. The moment a man starts operating from fear of losing her, she begins losing respect for him. It's not conscious, it's not cruel, it's biological. Fear signals weakness, and weakness triggers contempt, not attraction. The fear of losing a woman is completely irrational when you really examine it. What exactly are you afraid of? You won't die, you won't starve. The sun will still rise, your life will continue. This isn't cancer, it's not a death sentence, it's not catastrophe, it's just change. But men build up this fear into something monstrous, something that controls their every action in the relationship. The man she never forgets didn't have this fear. When she threatened to leave, he helped her pack. When she gave ultimatums, he called her bluff. When she tried to manipulate through fear of loss, he remained unmoved. Not because he didn't care, but because he understood a fundamental truth. His life's value wasn't dependent on her presence in it. This absence of fear creates an entirely different relationship dynamic. She can't manipulate through threats. She can't control through emotional terrorism. She has to actually be valuable, actually contribute, actually earn his continued choice to be with her. And this makes her invest in ways she never has to, with men who fear losing her. The absence of fear of loss is literally the glue that holds relationships together. When manipulation doesn't work, when threats have no power, she has to rely on her actual feminine qualities to keep him interested. Women have told me about men they left 20 years ago who had this quality. I tried everything, they'll say. I threatened to leave. I actually left. I dated other people. He just continued living his life. He wasn't happy I left, but he wasn't destroyed either. And that drove me crazy. I've never gotten over how little my leaving affected him. One woman told me she left a man expecting him to chase, to beg, to fall apart. Instead, she saw him a month later at a coffee shop, looking better than when they were together, laughing with friends, clearly thriving. It broke something in me. She said, "Every man since then has needed me too much. They'd all fall apart if I left. But him, he proved he never needed me at all. He just chose me. And when I removed that choice, he simply chose differently." The sixth quality, he's genuinely valuable and demanded in the world outside the relationship. He has friends who seek his advice, work that requires his expertise, family that relies on his strength, hobbies that showcase his mastery. He exists powerfully outside of her sphere, and she's just one part of his multifaceted life. This external validation and demand creates what economists call scarcity value. When everyone wants something, its value increases. When a man is needed, wanted, respected, and sought after in multiple areas of life, his time with her becomes precious, not through his declaration, but through demonstration. She sees others competing for his time, his attention, his presence, and she realizes she's not entitled to it. She has to earn it like everyone else. The man whose entire social existence revolves around her, who has no friends, no demanding career, no outside interests. He's forgotten quickly because he was never really valued by the world. But the man who had to schedule her into his valuable life, who had people waiting for his attention, who was pulled in multiple directions by legitimate demands, he remains in her memory as someone of actual worth, not projected worth. Think about what this means in practical terms. When his phone rings, it's not just his mother checking in, it's colleagues needing his expertise, friends seeking his counsel, opportunities requiring his attention. When he leaves for the evening, it's not to drink alone at a bar. It's to contribute something meaningful somewhere, to be valued and needed in contexts that have nothing to do with her. She witnesses his value through others' demand for him, and this external proof of worth becomes internalized as truth. These qualities work together to create a man who becomes the unconscious standard against which all future men are measured. He wasn't needy, he wasn't available, he wasn't desperate for her approval. He was complete, focused, driven, and valuable. He chose her from abundance, not need. He invested from surplus, not deficit. Years pass. She dates other men, maybe marries one. But late at night, when she's honest with herself, she compares. The new man texts her constantly. She remembers the one who was too busy building his empire. The new man makes her is everything. She remembers the one whose obsession she could never quite capture. The new man fears losing her. She remembers the one who helped her pack when she threatened to leave. Every comparison favors the ghost, the memory, the man who embodied these qualities, not because she's cruel or ungrateful, but because these qualities speak to something primal in female psychology. They represent strength in its truest form, not physical, not financial, but psychological and spiritual strength. The tragic thing is, most men do exactly the opposite. They make her their obsession instead of having their own. They abandon their goals to make her happy. They treat their time as worthless, waiting around like loyal dogs. They hate being alone, using relationships as escape from themselves. They're terrified of loss, letting that fear drive every decision. They exist only within the relationship, having no external value or demand. And then they wonder why she leaves, why she forgets them so quickly, why they're replaced so easily. They don't understand that they never created that psychological imprint, that deep mark on her psyche that makes a man unforgettable. They were just another needy man in a long line of needy men, distinguishable only by name, forgotten as soon as the next one appeared. The man who combines these qualities, obsession with purpose, clear goals, time, value, comfort with solitude, absence of fear, and external demand, becomes a legend in her personal mythology. He's the one that got away, even if she's the one who left. He's the standard of masculinity that no one else reaches. He's the ghost that haunts every future relationship. I work with women who are married, successful, seemingly happy, and when we dig deep, there he is, that one man from their past who had these qualities. They might not even have dated long. Maybe it was months, not years, but the impact was seismic because he represented something they've never found again. A man who didn't need them but chose them, who wouldn't sacrifice his purpose for their comfort, who remained whole regardless of their presence or absence. One woman married 15 years with 3 children, told me about a man she dated for 4 months when she was 22. He was starting a company, lived in a studio apartment, had nothing material to offer. But he had such certainty about his future, such obsession with his mission, such complete absence of need for her validation, that she's measured every man against him since. Her husband is wealthy, devoted, would do anything for her, but he lacks that fire, that independence, that quality of being complete without her. I got the better deal on paper, she said, but I lost the man who made me feel most alive. This is the man women honor and appreciate, not just during the relationship, but forever. He doesn't beg for appreciation. He commands it through being. He doesn't demand honor. He embodies what's honorable. He doesn't ask to be remembered. He becomes unforgettable through living his truth, regardless of her approval. If you want to be this man, you can't fake these qualities. You can't pretend to have goals while secretly having none. You can't act like you enjoy solitude while desperately needing companionship. You can't simulate absence of fear while trembling inside. These qualities must be genuine because women's subconscious detection systems are far more sophisticated than their conscious minds. They'll sense the performance and dismiss you even faster than if you were honestly needy. The path to becoming this man isn't through relationship strategies or pickup techniques. It's through genuine development of self, through actual pursuit of purpose, through real cultivation of independence. It's through becoming so engaged with your own growth that a woman becomes a welcome addition to an already complete life, not a desperate attempt to fill an existence that feels empty. This is what women truly honor and appreciate, not the man who makes them his everything, but the man who has everything and chooses to share it with them. Not the man who needs them to be complete, but the man who's complete and offers them the opportunity to complement his completeness. Not the man who fears losing them, but the man who knows that loss, while unfortunate, wouldn't diminish his essential value. Become this man, and you become unforgettable. Remain the opposite, and you're just another forgotten name in her relationship history. Another disappointment compared to the one who got away. Another example of what she doesn't want while she searches for another version of what she once had and lost. The choice is yours. Be the man she forgets, or be the ghost she can never exorcise. Be the man she settled for, or be the standard she measures all others against. Be the man who needed her, or be the man who chose her. The difference determines whether you're honored for a moment or appreciated forever.